What if I told you the biggest mistake high performers make every summer isn't working too much? It's waiting until August to realize they never actually enjoyed it. If you've ever gotten to the end of summer wondering where the last 2 months went, you're not alone. So many ambitious people tell themselves they'll slow down later, take time off later, and enjoy life later. Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Mintu Lam, executive burnout coach, and I help high performers create more energy, freedom, and fulfillment without sacrificing their success. In today's episode, I'm sharing 3 things you can do right now to set yourself up for a summer you actually get to enjoy without letting work fall apart in the process. Because the people who have the best summers don't magically find more time, they create it intentionally. So stick around because we're answering the question, what do you need to put in place today so you don't wake up in August wondering where your summer went? All right, guys, it is, at the time I'm recording this, it's the middle of June. So you're going to be hearing this at either the end of June or in July. And so we're getting into summer. And I'm sure lots of you guys are excited summer's here. I know I'm excited summer's here, even though we've been getting a ton of rain where I'm at. But something last summer that came up with a lot of my clients was, there's 2 things. One, this frustration of how things tend to slow down in the summer. And so, people not responding to emails as quickly, lots of out of offices on, just things not moving at the same pace as maybe it was in spring. And then the second frustration is that they're not getting to enjoy their summer. And especially where I'm at, I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. Our summers are so valuable out here because they're very short. So we try to soak it up as much as we can. We also have really long days in the summer. The sun rises, it's probably around 4:30 or 5, and then it doesn't set till last night. We were out at 10:30 and it was just starting to set. So, summers for where I'm at are really valuable. And so when you feel like your summer's passing you by, it's like, damn, a really pivotal part of the year is passing you by. So today, what I'm going to talk about is 3 points, 3 things that you can do to help set you up for a successful summer. Okay. And I wanted to release this now so that you don't get to August and think, oh my God, I only have a few weeks left to enjoy this. I want to give you this information now so that as you go through the rest of these couple months for summer, you feel like you have a bit of a plan, okay? Because I want you to enjoy it too, all right? Now, what I will say is this, is nature has energy, okay? And we can either work with the energies of nature or we can work against it. And anytime I've seen anybody work against Mother Nature, it never works out well for them, okay? And that's in the smallest sense as far as, for women, we have a cycle, resisting against that usually doesn't go well for us. There's something as obvious as the seasons, right? If you're trying to plant a tree in the middle of winter, probably not going to go well, right? Like Mother Nature knows what she's doing. And so if you look at the energy of summer, summer is creative and playful. It draws people outside. There's more energy, right? There's more sunlight. All these things are energies of just going out and enjoying yourself. Really is the simplest way to put it. It's having fun. It's being in the moment. It's appreciating that sun for what it is. And again, maybe, I have clients in California and Florida. Maybe it doesn't hit as hard for you guys, but again, where I'm from, man, it brings out a totally different version of you for those few months in summer. Okay. So I'm a firm believer that the seasons are there to remind us of the seasons that we should fall into as well too. Now, I'm not gonna tell you how you have to or don't have to spend your summer, but the reality is we have a rhythm that works with nature, and summer is playful. It's creative. It's meant to be fun, and so you can either work with that or against that. Okay, so point number 1 in this video is set the intention for the type of summer you want to have. Now, again, I know you guys are all high achievers. You guys are business people. Of course you want to make money. Of course you want the business to keep moving, okay? Like I know that. You don't need to tell me that. However, I want you to set the intention of what that looks like for you, okay? Is that, yeah, I want the business to keep flowing, but I also want to have some time for myself and be able to go spend time with my loved ones and friends and maybe take a vacation or two? Is that, no, I'm just dead set at being in the office and that's my only focus is to get business done in any way that I can? Like, you have to be really raw and honest with yourself as to what you want this summer to look like, okay? And by the way, just because you want to go enjoy yourself doesn't mean the business stops, right? It doesn't mean the business stops. It doesn't mean you can't keep growing, but that intention sets the tone for how you're going to set up your days, what type of boundaries you're going to put in place around work, right? Like all these things factor into it, okay? So that's the first thing I want you to do is what type of summer do I want, right? What is there maybe you want to run a marathon. Maybe you want to go on a really great hike. Maybe there's a certain vacation you want to take, but just like set that intention now. Okay. What type of summer do I want? And then you have to adhere to that. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day to day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. There's no point in setting an intention and then not following through because all that does is build a lack of trust within yourself. It leads to resentment, it leads to burnout, right? So the first thing is set that intention, okay? We know the energy of summer, that's been established, but what do you want out of your summer, okay? And again, you can keep moving things along while still enjoying yourself, but you just have to lay out what that looks like, okay? Which leads me into point 2, which is setting up your schedule accordingly, okay? So if you do know you want to enjoy more of your summer, if you know you want to take a couple vacations, maybe you have some weddings to go through, maybe you are going to reno your house, I don't know. Whatever you're choosing to do though this summer to give into that energy, set your schedule up accordingly, okay? I've had this talk a couple times this week with clients. The reason things like that we spiral so much, we get so overwhelmed is because of the pressure we put on ourselves to get things done a certain way, knowing that we have some added things in the mix, okay? So I have a client who was doing a fair amount of traveling last summer. And so he's got an office here and he's got an office in Montreal. And when he came back to Edmonton, he would always tell me, he's like, man, Mintu, the first 1 or 2 days, I'm just so not productive. Like I have all these things I need to get done when I'm back in the office and I just can't focus. I can't dial it in like I want to. And I don't know why that is. And for anyone who doesn't know, Montreal and Edmonton's a 2-hour time difference. Okay. So not a lot, but noticeable for sure with your circadian rhythm. And what I told them was, I was like, well, why don't you just set up a half day or a day of transition time, right? So if you're flying home, you know, Thursday night and you're going to plan to be in the office Friday morning, well, that probably is going to throw your game off. And then you're just going to be sitting in the office Friday staring at your computer blankly, probably for the first part of the morning because you're just trying to get your bearings again. Your time's off, your circadian rhythm's off. Instead of forcing that and then feeling bad about yourself for spinning your wheels in the office on Friday, give yourself some transition time. Maybe take the morning off and plan to go in at noon and then make noon to 5 or noon to 6 or whatever some really effective, productive hours. But to force yourself into the office first thing in the morning just to show face, like I get, maybe there's a how it looks again, like a presentation part of it, like a culture part of it if you want to be there. But also, like, I promise you no one's looking that hard, okay? And again, what is that setting you up to do? It's just setting you up to spin your tires and not do actually anything productive in the morning because your body can't keep up, right? So what I'm saying is if you know you're going to take a vacation or you're going to have some days off and you know there are things that need to get done in that time period, set the expectation now, okay? So if you weren't taking a vacation, would normally take you about a week to get done, knowing that you're going to take this time, give yourself 10 days to get it done. Maybe even give yourself 2 weeks to get it done, okay? We all know that when you give someone a deadline ahead of time and you give them a timeline ahead of time, that lays the expectation. It's worse to be like, oh, I thought I could have it done and it's not done yet. And then you're playing catch up after versus just saying a couple weeks ahead of time, hey, I know we wanted this for the 20th. I'm actually probably going to get it to you by the 27th. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time now. That clear communication creates more trust in the office. It, again, levels expectations and it takes the pressure off yourself. right? And again, the reason so many people spiral in summer is because they're working against what they actually want. You want to have fun, you want more space to breathe, you want to enjoy your summer, but you're setting your schedule up not to be able to do that. You're not setting your schedule up with the space to breathe and to have those moments, okay? So again, if there's a vacation, if you just maybe want to leave the office at 4:30 for the summer instead of staying till 5:30 or 6, again, set that up now, right? Despite what you think, I know there are deadlines and bosses and all those things, but if you're the one executing the work and you're the expert in your field, you're the one who has to set the intention of what's possible. This is where boundaries come into place, okay? So you need to lay that out now and then realize that no one's going to die. If something takes a couple extra days, it's going to be okay, And I know there's a few things here and there that there are strict deadlines for. Okay, so those you plan accordingly for. But this is why important. This is this is why it's important to get ahead of it now. Okay, you in step one set the intention of what type of summer you want, and if you're listening to this, I'm assuming it's because you want a fun summer. If you're just planning on plugging out away at work the whole time, then you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. So if you're listening to this, I know you want to enjoy your summer and have fun. So first step is you're going to set the intention, and two, then you're going to plan accordingly. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. You're going to set the appropriate expectations for when it needs to get done, okay? Now, point 3, that is the key to all of this, is what I just alluded to, is being able to set the boundary, okay? Set the expectation, set the boundary, and then stick to it, all right? You have to plan this out, and then you have to almost expect that if this is the first time you've done this, or you've extended some deadlines, maybe set an out of office, you're going to feel uncomfortable. If you're a high achiever who's used to just making things happen all the time for people, you're used to just, problem solving, people pleasing, all those things, your instinct isn't going to be to hold your boundary. Your instinct is going to be to make concessions. Okay. So let's say, for instance, you got a trip to Europe planned for the summer, okay? You're going to go for 2 weeks with your family, maybe just even you and a girlfriend, who knows? And you're going to go to Europe for 2 weeks. And you have decided that you're going to put your out of office on, but maybe you're going to check your emails a little bit just to see if there's anything on fire in there, okay? So first off, my recommendation is setting a specific window each day that you're going to allow yourself to check that work. If you really feel like you need to. In my heart of hearts, I would love it if you didn't have to do work while you're on vacation, but I know that is something that sometimes has to be grown into. I had one client, Mike, that went to Europe last summer for a whole month and didn't take his laptop, and that was a really big win for us. He was scared, it was leading up to it. I'm not going to lie, we had to do a lot of work in his nervous system to it, but he did it, and he was so grateful for the experience of being present the whole time. But if you're at a point where you're like, I'm going to have to check a little bit, then what I want you to do is I want you to first set aside the amount of time you're going to allow yourself to work every day. So maybe that's 30 minutes, maybe that's 1 hour. My recommendation is it shouldn't be longer than an hour. And an hour is enough to tackle emergency stuff unless something really blows up. And ideally, if something gets to that point, you have someone back home that can help you with that, okay? So again, set a certain amount of time every day that you're going to work and you're going to stick to that, okay? So within that window, okay? Now, the next thing I'll say is, and this is where the real work comes in, is that people are going to ask you for things while you're gone. Okay? People are going to ignore you're out of office. If people have access to your personal phone, they're going to text you. Okay? Just almost assume this is going to happen. Okay? And this is where you have to get really clear with yourself on your boundaries. Okay? And honoring them. Now, what I want to remind people is that a boundary is not about what other people will do. It's about what you will do and what you will honor for yourself, okay? So if the boundary is, hey guys, I'm going to be in Europe for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to be answering any emails, And then 3 days into your vacation, Johnny goes, "Hey, Sally, I really need this. Can you just send this over to me really quickly? I don't know where you put it. Can you please, can you please, can you please?" The boundary you set was, "I'm out of office for 2 weeks. I will not be working." But now Johnny has decided to push that boundary and ask you to respond to him. This is where you have to toe the line for yourself. And you have to trust that in theory, if you have an out of office on, Johnny knows who else to get that information from or can problem solve himself and call someone else in your office or whoever else is also resourceful and can get the answers for him. I'm sure you're not the only one that can direct him. But this is where your nervous system is going to get activated. You are going to feel guilty. You're going to be like, it's just easier if I respond to him myself. You're going to feel like, why can't they just respect it? Like you're going to have all these emotions come up, which are going to tempt you to want to break that boundary and just respond to them really quickly and just get it done with. Okay. What I want to tell you is it's not about necessarily teaching people how to treat you. That is a part of it. But more so, it's about being able to hold the discomfort in your body that you might disappoint someone. That's what it comes down to when we talk about the root cause of boundaries, right? When you've been used to being really accessible for people, being willing to do whatever it takes to make things happen, again, working late, previously answering emails on vacation, all of these things, that's your survival strategy, right? And I always say the blessing and curse of being a high performer is you're willing to do what most people won't, but it's usually at the expense of your own well-being. So your well-being is being on this trip and being in the moment with your loved ones and having fun and being present. Summer, okay? But you're being tempted, not tempted, but your survival strategy of just being available to everyone else all the time is coming into play. And what's happening is it's saying, if I don't respond to Johnny right now, something might fall apart. And if it falls apart, they're going to think it's my fault. And if it's my fault, that means I'm not good at my job. It means I'm not worthy. That's where all that deep rootedness comes in with any boundary, right? If I don't give up this boundary and I just kind of give in or concede, then what's that going to say about me? But we justify it as it's just easier if I get it done this way. It'll save time. Like just no one else can do it like me. We use all these strategies in our head to justify why we don't need to hold the boundary. But that's just our old programming. Okay. So when Johnny sends that email and you feel that urge to just respond, come in, this is where I want you to stop and regulate. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. And if you've been following my podcast, you know what I mean by regulate, but regulate just means you are going to show the nervous system, your nervous system, that there's not actually a threat here, okay? Because when that email comes in from Johnny, again, that urge to respond, that slight ping of anxiety, that slight ping of like, oh, I got to do something about this, that fight or flight energy that typically comes in, what your nervous system is perceiving in that moment is that there's a threat. And the threat is there's work for me to be done, and I can't leave it undone. If it doesn't get done, it's going to fall back on me. So there's a perceived threat that your nervous system's picking up on, okay? The reason you go regulate in that moment is to show your nervous system this isn't a real threat. There's no bear chasing us. We're not going to die. No one's going to die. This is not a real threat. This is just a perceived threat. And I'm going to show you that you don't have to be on guard right now. You don't have to go in fight or flight. And I'm going to show you that through a regulation exercise. Okay? And again, there's tons of these that you can do, but that means putting your phone down and going for a walk. That means maybe doing some tapping. That means maybe going to skip down the street. That means maybe hugging someone or, just anything that's going to get you out of your head where all those ruminating thoughts are and into your body. Okay. And you got to do that enough to sit through the discomfort of what it means to hold that boundary for yourself, to honor that for yourself. Okay. And if you do that, over and over and over again, that boundary becomes a lot easier to hold, okay? It becomes a lot easier to put into place and to follow through on. And when you do that more consistently, guess what? People start to learn, as I mentioned earlier, how to treat you. They know, oh, when Mintu's on vacation, don't even try emailing her because we're not getting a response. That girl is going to be in the moment with her family and her loved ones. So just Bob's next in charge. Let's just go straight to Bob. Let's just let Mintu do her thing, right? That's how you train people how to teach you and train them how to find the answers for themselves, to not always rely on you, okay? But we have to honor this. These are things that we can control. We can't control whether they email us or not, but we can control how we respond, okay? So again, back to summer. If you want a summer that's fun and light and you want to be able to enjoy the things that you're choosing to do, whether that be a vacation or whatever the case is, you got to take these 3 steps to set that up now. Okay, because you're going to be tested. It's just the way it goes. People like to test you, right? And also on the other side of that is there are going to be people who will go on their own vacation and you're going to be like, why are they holding up my end of the bargain? Right? You might have something that you have a deadline on and you want answers on quicker, yet they're out enjoying their summer, you know? But I will say in that case is you could sit here and stress yourself out and spin your tires on that, or you could just realize that you have no control over that and then probably come to the realization that you also want to enjoy your summer. So why don't you go out and do that too? Like instead of stressing the fact that, Jody hasn't responded fast enough, because she's got a out of email or out of office on or whatever the case is, she'll be like, all right, well, Jody's on vacation. Why don't I go do something with my time that I enjoy and that I love doing and that makes me laugh and have fun while I'm waiting for that, Because chances are you're going to be more productive anyways after. We're all way more productive when we're grounded and present and regulated and we've just laughed. Your body's online, your mind's online, things are flowing. We're way better when we're in that state. We're way more productive. But we have to adjust that expectation. We have to adjust that pressure in our head to account for the season that we're in. And the season is fun, sun, water, beach, whatever, okay? Go enjoy your lives. I was on a group call last night and I was talking about how the new wealth, like what I'm seeing trending, what people are talking about with all the executives and, founders that I'm working with. The real wealth now is not money. Like, yes, of course we need that. We know that. But the true wealth is freedom, freedom in your time, freedom in where you're putting your energy, the ability to take off and go do what you want to do in that moment. That's what everyone wants now. That is the true wealth. That is the true success. But that starts with cultivating that for you. No one's going to hand that to you. No one's going to just give that to you on a silver platter. You need to cultivate that for yourself within. Freedom starts within. Right? Just like the tuning forks, just like the radio station. If freedom is playing on the radio station of 99.2, you got to tune your frequency to get up to 99.2. And if right now you feel like your life's not got a lot of time freedom, you don't feel like you're in control of those things, then we need to adjust the internal frequency. We need to adjust your tuner. We need to dial your tune up so that you can get on that same frequency of freedom, so you can get on 99.2. Okay? And that's through the steps I just mentioned, but also just rewiring, again, working with nature. Amazing things happen when you just give in and flow with what we were designed to do by universe, versus trying to go the other way all the time and swim upstream. It's hard, it's not fun, and it rarely ever works.